Welcome to Rent a Gun. In this film we're going to look at this, an original PPSh-41. At the very start of World War II, the Soviet Union was engaged in a war against Finland, and the Finnish army had developed a very good submachine gun. The Soviet Union and the army decided they wanted a gun just like that in their inventory. So they rushed through the design and manufacture of the PPD-40, but it was literally rushed through. It proved to be so expensive to manufacture. It required a lot of raw materials, a lot of steel, but also it needed a large skilled workforce to manufacture. So they needed a solution. As ever, they needed more submachine guns for less money. The PPSh-41 was designed by Georgy Shpagin. He used a select fire blowback operating system that fired the 7.62 by 25 Togorov round. The PPSh is a select fire weapon. That means it can either fire a single shot, or by moving the selector switch it becomes a fully automatic submachine gun. It comes with a box magazine that holds 35 rounds, but also a drum magazine that holds an incredible 71 rounds. The weapon fires 900 to 1,000 rounds per minute. And incredibly, there were more than 6 million of these made during World War II. And that, I think, officially makes it the greatest produced submachine gun of World War II. The majority of this weapon is manufactured using pressed and stamped steel welded together. But there is still a quite traditional wooden stock utilised. Very basic safety catch fitted here at the top of the cocking handle, and down here in front of the trigger and inside the trigger guard there is the selector switch for fully automatic or single shot. And now I'm going to field strip the weapon. First of all, I want to remove the magazine. Here is the magazine release catch. By pushing it, I can simply pull out the drum mag. And now, as ever, I'll check that the weapon is clear and safe. And it is. To remove the internal parts, I push forward the latch, which is in fact the whole top part of the top receiver, and that opens up the weapon. Now I can see the bolt and carrier and the mainspring and the damper. By pulling back just slightly on the cocking handle, I can remove all the moving parts in one. If I take the mainspring on its guide out the back of the bolt, that is the complete field strip. This is the mainspring on its guide rod with the nylon damper fitted over. This is the bolt block, which is the biggest piece of machined steel in the weapon. And on the bolt block we've got the cocking handle with the safety lever attached, the extractor claw and firing pin. It's worth noting just how rough the machining is on this piece of steel. The top receiver and lower receiver are permanently fitted together on this pivot pin. Inside the lower receiver we got the trigger group, and the barrel is fitted permanently into the upper receiver. We've got the 71 round drum magazine, but also we have a 35 round box magazine. To reassemble the submachine gun, I need to take the bolt block and the mainspring, put that back together, then making sure that I put the damper the right way up, I can then put the bolt back into position. And now by closing the top receiver with the latch, it's now got all the moving parts back in place. To enable us to test fire the PPSh, I'm going to have to load the drum magazine. This is made in a similar process to the weapon itself, out of pressed steel welded. The whole of the drum magazine is held together by this pivoting lever latch. This connects with a sprung-loaded centre spindle, and indeed to open the drum magazine I have to first press on the sprung-loaded spindle at the back, then I can lower the pivoted latch and take off the face of the magazine, exposing the inside. There is a free spinning round guide which before loading has to be in the correct position. Then I can turn the clockwork feed mechanism. In this case I'm going to turn it twice, and before I put any rounds in the magazine I have to make sure that this guide is in the correct feeding position. To load the magazine, and in this case I'm using blank ammunition, we simply line all of the rounds up in the appropriate feed chamber in front of the sprung loaded feed arm. In total the magazine can take 71 rounds, but for our demonstration we'll just half fill. So now we have sufficient rounds to test fire in place, but these are not under any tension at all because we haven't released the sprung loaded mechanism in the centre. To do that we must first replace the cover onto the magazine, and at this stage the pivot arm cannot come forward because we have to press in the spring, and this will in turn release the feeder arm which will push the rounds into the feeding position, like so. Now the magazine is assembled and loaded and ready for use. So I've reassembled the PPSh, I've loaded the magazine, it's all good to go. This is going to be the fun bit. We'll test fire it. And to do that, as usual, I'll hand it over to my armourer, Max.
Hi.
There we are. And I'm going to get off the range. For more information, follow any of the links below.